Elon Musk stood up this week and called Grok 4.5 an Opus-class model. Opus-class, faster, cheaper, more token efficient, but standing shoulder to shoulder with the best coding model Anthropic ships. That is a big claim. And when someone makes a big claim about a model I am going to actually use, I do not clap. I open the benchmark tables, I read the footnotes, and I ask the only question that matters. Is that true, or is that marketing wearing a lab coat? So today, I want to do the boring, unglamorous thing that almost nobody does on launch day. I want to take the Opus-class claim apart, piece by piece, and tell you which part is real, which part is spin, and what the actual engineering story is underneath all the noise. Because there is a real story here. It is just not the one on the press slide. Let me set the stage. This week has been the single busiest stretch of frontier model launches I can remember. Grok 4.5 went out to developers, then opened to the public. A day later, OpenAI shipped an entire family, GPT 5.6, three of them, Sol, Terra, and Luna. For the first time in weeks, every major lab has a current model in the wild at the same time. That timing is not a coincidence. When everyone ships in the same 48 hours, nobody is racing the calendar. They are racing each other's headlines. And the headline XAI wanted was Opus-class. Here is what actually shipped. Grok 4.5 is priced at $2 per million input tokens and $6 per million output tokens. Cached input drops to 50 cents, a 75% discount, with a surcharge once you go past 200,000 tokens of context. It runs at roughly 80 tokens per second. On price against Claude Opus 4.8, that output number is close to 4 times cheaper. So the cost part of Musk's claim, the part where he said cheaper and more token efficient, that part is not spin. That part is just true. Hold on to it, because it is the best thing about this model, and we will come back to it. Now the Opus-class part, this is where I want you to watch the hands, not the mouth. XAI published 4 benchmarks, 4. And on those 4, Grok 4.5 beats Opus 4.8 on 2 of them, Deep SWE 1.0, and Terminal Bench 2.1. It loses the other 2. It loses Deep SWE 1.1 by 6 points, and it loses SWE-Bench Pro by about 4.5 points. So on XAI's own hand-picked scoreboard, the one they got to choose, it is a 2-2 tie. And notice something. The 2 it wins are the older or more contained benchmarks. The 2 it loses are the harder, more realistic software engineering tasks. When a company chooses its own 4 benchmarks and still only ties, that tells you the honest headline was never going to be, "We beat Opus." It was going to be, "We are in the conversation." Opus-class is a way of saying close without having to prove ahead. And then there is the number that XAI did not put on the marketing slide in big font. Independent testing. Artificial analysis, which runs its own evaluations across models, ranks Grok 4.5 fourth overall. Fourth, behind Fable 5, behind GPT 5.5, and yes, behind Opus 4.8. So the model that was announced as Opus-class sits, by a neutral third party, 1 full rank below the thing it was named after. That is the gap between a launch tweet and a leaderboard. If you only read the tweet, you think you are getting Opus for a quarter of the price. If you read the leaderboard, you are getting the 4th best model for a quarter of the price. Those are very different sentences, and only one of them is on the poster. But here is where I stop being a critic and start being an engineer, because there genuinely is something impressive in this release, and it is not the ranking, it is the efficiency. On SWE-Bench Pro, XAI reports that Grok 4.5 resolves a task using an average of about 16,000 output tokens. Opus 4.8 on the same tasks burns roughly 67,000. That is a 4.2 times difference in how much the model has to write to get to the same finish line. Read that again because most people scrolled right past it. The Grok model is not just cheaper per token, it uses far fewer tokens to do the work. Those 2 things stack. Why does that matter, and why do I care more about it than the leaderboard position? Because in real engineering, the cost of a model is not the sticker price per million tokens. It is the sticker price times how many tokens the thing actually spends solving your problem. A model that is twice as cheap per token but writes 3 times as much text to reach an answer is not cheaper. It is more expensive and slower, and it fills your context window with its own thinking. Token efficiency is the number that survives contact with a real workload. And on that number, Grok 4.5 is doing something legitimately good. Fewer tokens per solved task at 80 tokens a second at $6 output. For an agent that runs hundreds of steps in a loop, that compounds into serious money and serious latency savings. That is the actual product, and it is a better story than Opus-class ever was. So why did they not lead with it? Because efficiency does not trend. Efficiency is a spreadsheet. Opus-class is a flag you can plant. And that is the pattern I want you to take away from this whole week, because it is bigger than one model. We have hit the part of this race where raw capability between the top 4 labs is bunched so tightly that no single launch can honestly say we are number 1 and mean it. So the marketing has quietly shifted. It is not I am the smartest anymore. It is I am class of the smartest, at a fraction of the price. Class of is the new frontier claim. It sounds like a capability statement. It is actually a pricing statement wearing capabilities clothes. What does this mean for you, practically, sitting there deciding what to point your agent at? If you are doing the hardest, highest stakes reasoning and coding, where being right on the first pass is worth more than the token bill, the independent numbers still say the top of the board, Opus and Fable and GPT 5.5, earns its premium. If you are running high-volume agentic work, long loops, lots of tool calls, where efficiency and latency and cost dominate, and you can tolerate being a notch below the absolute best, then Grok 4.5 is not hype. It is arguably the smart default. The mistake is buying it because Musk said Opus-class. The right move is buying it because the token math works for your workload. Same model, completely different reason. So here is my verdict. Grok 4.5 is a very good model wrapped in an overclaim. The Opus-class label is marketing, and a neutral leaderboard puts it a rank below the model it is named after. So do not repeat that phrase as if it were a benchmark. But underneath the label is something I respect more than another point on a chart. It is one of the most token-efficient frontier models released this year, at a genuinely aggressive price. And for a huge slice of real-world agent workloads, that combination matters more than being number 1. Ignore the flag. Read the footnotes. The footnotes are where the actual win is. Judge the model on tokens per solved task and dollars per finished job, not on whose name it borrowed for a day. If this is the kind of breakdown you want, where I read the fine print so you do not have to, subscribe. I do one of these every day, and tomorrow there is a whole GPT 5.6 family waiting for the same treatment.